Good morning, friends. Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Yeah. All right. Thank you and welcome back to Heat Transfer. Uh, Today is Thursday. What's the date today? 21st of October. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves because how many weeks we have left and how much materials I have to cover. So that planning is required. All right. So first thing is let me wait for some more people to join before we discuss the logistics of the exam next week. So let's get started then from where we left off yesterday. Of course, the Microsoft OneNote was misbehaving a bit, so hopefully it will be okay today. So this is where we left off, right? We started with the simplified, just for flow over a flat plate, by the way, that to an isothermal flat plate with a constant temperature at its surface. The simplified energy equation at steady state becomes this: U del T del x plus V del T del y is equal to alpha del square T del y squared. Okay. Just make a note here that if you look at this form, go back to your Navier-Stokes equation for flow over a flat plate, there is some similarity, right? It was U del U del x plus V del U del y equals to nu del square U del y squared, right? So essentially, it was the derivative, the first order and second order derivatives of the x velocity u, whereas here we are dealing with the derivatives of the temperature. So there is some similarity. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We will come back to this sometime later if time permits. After that, what we did was we said, okay, we will non-dimensionalize and define T star as T minus T infinity divided by T minus TW divided by T infinity minus TW. T infinity, again, remember, is the free stream temperature of the fluid. And we are assuming that this is going to be, we will be able to get a similarity solution in terms of eta, which we had defined during our discussion on fluid mechanics, which is y by x Reynolds to the power half. Okay. So if you do all this and move on, the energy equation reduces to this form. It's an ODE del square T del eta squared plus Prandtl number by 2. Remember, Prandtl was nu over alpha. So plus Prandtl number by 2 times f. F is that function, which we solved using Lassier's. It's the function that was there in Lassier's equation, which we had solved for during our fluid mechanics recap. And then dt squared d eta. Okay. Now, what would be the boundary conditions? Okay, let's look at it. T star at 0, which means that y equals to 0. So which is the surface? What would be T star? If you look at it, the temperature at y equal to 0 is actually TW. So T star at 0 is actually 0. And if you move far away, the temperature is that of the free stream temperature of the fluid, which is T infinity. So therefore, T star at infinity is equal to 1. A second order ODE with 2 boundary conditions. This is solvable. Okay. Please note the fact that the dependence of the thermal solution, which is temperature, the dependence of the thermal solution on hydrodynamic conditions, it is captured through this function f, which we solved from fluid mechanics considerations. So you can just write down that note the dependence.
Sir, you are not sharing the screen.
Oh my God. I'm really sorry. Friends, I'm sorry again, but we have not gone too far. This is where we stopped yesterday. Okay? And what we are trying to say is that if you put all these equations, the similarity variables and the similarity function, the energy equation takes the form of an ODE, which I have written here. Subject to boundary conditions, T star at y at 0, eta equals to 0, which is also means y equal to 0, is 0. Why? Because T star is T minus TW, and at y equal to 0, T is TW, right here. Similarly, when you move far away, at T, when y is very high, so eta at infinity, the temperature of the fluid becomes that of the mean free stream temperature. So T equals to T infinity, and T star equals to 1. So please note the dependence of the thermal solution or of the thermal field on hydrodynamic conditions through this term F. Okay. Once again, friends, there is no requirement or pressure for you guys to memorize these equations. Okay. But you should know these will be with you, the notes will be with you, but you should know what these equations mean, what they stand for, etc. Because during the exam, if you start going back into your notes and try to find out why this equation exists, then I am sorry, then that would be too late. So please study without the pressure of memorizing, and please focus on understanding the fundamental concepts. Okay. Now this solution is difficult, this equation is difficult to solve analytically, but numerical solution will give you this dt star d eta, which is the first derivative. Okay. If you take it to the other side and then you basically take the log, etc., put the value of f, all that stuff, you get 0.332 Prandtl to the power 1/3. Okay, you just have to trust me here. We are not proving it. The numerical solution. Now, this is kind of giving you the temperature gradient, right? At some surface. Sorry, dt star d eta okay, this is dt star d eta at eta equals to 0. Is everybody there? Suddenly I can hear some sound. Suddenly my Microsoft Teams window disappeared. Okay. Now, therefore, this is giving you some temperature gradient. Remember, your Nusselt number, H, these are temperature gradients. So let us see what we are up to. Our aim is to find out heat transfer coefficient. Our aim is to relate the heat flux to the temperatures, right? That is our aim. So note that Hx is equal to what? Q double prime x. That is how we are defining it. Tw minus T infinity. Clear? What is Q double prime x? What is Q double prime x? Q double prime x is minus k dt dy. Clear? So I can write it in this manner. Minus T infinity minus TW KF del T del Y, sorry, del T star del Y, right? You get it? Because it's actually del T del Y at Y equal to 0, but since I'm converting it to del T star, I have to multiply by the non-dimensionalization parameter, which is T infinity minus TW. Get it? Or, okay, let me, because you are going to refer to these notes later, let me write the intermediate step also. Chalo, minus KF del T del Y equal to 0 divided by TW minus T infinity. But what is del T? If I have to convert it to del T star, I get it as this, minus T infinity minus TW divided by TW minus T infinity times KF del T star del Y at Y equal to 0. So see, these two cancel out, right? This and this will cancel out along with the negative direction, negative sign. But this is del T star del Y, and what I have is del T star del eta. So I have to convert it. Okay? So what will I write? Therefore, I'm going to write this is equal to KF del T star del eta at Y equal to 0 times del eta del Y. What is del eta del Y? Let's go back and look at it. Eta del Y is U infinity divided by nu x, root over. Okay, we'll put it back. And what you get is therefore KF U infinity over nu x to the power half times, sorry, this is dt star. Huh? This should be dt star deta. At eta equal to 0, because y equal to 0 is eta equal to 0. So we are very close. We have it now. Or hx is therefore 0.332 Prandtl to the power half. Sorry, 1/3. Sorry, times kf times, if I take an x out, if I take an x out, what do I have? Sorry, if I take a 1 by x out, sorry, what I have is u infinity x by nu to the power half. Okay. So why did I take the x out? You probably have figured that out, because I wanted it to be Nusselt number. So Nusselt number x, which is what? Hx times x over kf is therefore 0.332 Reynolds to the power half Prandtl to the power 1/3. Okay. So I have got this expression. This is what we call correlations to calculate the heat transfer coefficient. Remember, right from the first class, I have been telling that, the problem still now, whatever we solved, the H value was given to us. But it's this theory of convection which is going to teach us how to calculate that H value given a situation, given a geometry, given a flow condition, etc., and a fluid, etc. So here you see that if it's flow over a flat plate, and I know what is the fluid and what is its velocity, what is its length, what is the distance, blah, 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 and the properties of the fluid, I can calculate what is the heat transfer coefficient at different points. So what does this help us to calculate? This is helping us to calculate. Let me draw it again. This was my flat plate at TW. And I was having a fluid come in at U infinity and T infinity. And we know that there exists a thermal boundary layer within which the temperature varies like this from TW to T infinity. Okay. This is telling us how the heat transfer coefficient, how the Nusselt number and therefore heat transfer coefficient is varying along X from the leading edge, except the leading edge where, as you can see, it's a singularity point. The boundary, that's a boundary layer assumption. Boundary layer thickness is 0 here. If the boundary layer thickness is 0, actually Hx is infinity. It's an infinite heat transfer rate. Okay? That's ideal situation. That's a singularity point. But after that, this is going to help us. So what does it tell us? It tells us that Hx, which, by the way, we are also going to sometimes in many books also denote as H sub x. They mean the same thing. What is it proportional to? It is proportional to x to the power minus half, which means the heat transfer coefficient reduces. It is highest, of course, it's infinity at the leading edge, and then it reduces following this dependence. Okay, so the heat transfer coefficient closer to the leading edge is higher, and away from the leading edge is lower. Okay. Now remember, I also said at the beginning that sometimes we may not be interested in this local variation. We would like to just know that how much is the average heat transfer that I'm going to get. So therefore, an average value of heat transfer coefficient would be useful. So can I get that? Yes, of course I can. What would be H bar over the length L? That is going to be 1 over L integral 0 to L Hx dx. Right? So try that. Independently, you also try. I will also write. Okay. 0 to L. And what do I have? 0.332 Reynolds to the power half. Okay. U infinity. Okay, we know U infinity by nu x times x I've already taken, so I'll take kf then Prandtl to the power 1/3 dx. So if you do this, you take everything out, so you get 1 over L 0.332 nu infinity by nu Prandtl to the power 1/3. Okay, let's take the k out here. Then I have integral dx divided by x to the power half. So what is this x to the power minus half? If you integrate it, it becomes x to the power half divided by half, so it becomes 2. And what you therefore get is point 664 Reynolds L to the power half Prandtl to the power 1/3 F over L. Okay, or Nusselt L is 0.664. The average Nusselt number L is Reynolds L to the power half Prandtl to the power 1/3. Okay, you may make a note that this H bar L is actually 2 times H at x equal to L. At the trailing edge, the heat transfer coefficient will be lowest because the thermal boundary layer is the thickest. Remember, we discussed yesterday, the thermal boundary layer is kind of a bottleneck. It's a resistance. That's the resistance that the heat has to overcome in order to have the temperature drop from TW to T infinity. So higher the thermal boundary layer thickness, lower is the rate of heat transfer and therefore heat transfer coefficient. So therefore, for a plate of length L, the lowest heat transfer coefficient will be at the what we call the trailing edge, which is x equal to L. The average is twice that value, as you can see. Okay, right from here. Right? All right. Next one, and this you have to again trust me. It can be shown that this is important, friends. Delta T over delta scales as Prandtl to the power 1/3. We knew it would scale as Prandtl to the power something because delta T thermal boundary layer and delta is the momentum or velocity boundary layer. The ratio kind of tells us that what is the relative ease of propagation of the thermal front over the momentum front, okay, or the effect of the thermal disturbance at the plate versus the effect of the viscous forces experienced by the plate at the plate. Okay, that's how we have defined Prandtl number as well, right? So the boundary layer thicknesses are expected to vary as a function of Prandtl number, and that for a flat plate turns out to be 1/3 to the power 1/3. So what does that mean? It means that if you take, let us take 3 cases. The first case is Prandtl number is less than 1, Prandtl number equal to 1 or almost equal to 1, Prandtl number greater than 1. If the Prandtl number is less than 1, it means what? No, I think I wrote it wrongly. Sorry. This is minus 1/3. Okay. All right. So therefore, if the Prandtl number is less than 1, it means that the delta T, the thermal boundary layer, is is thicker than the momentum boundary layer. Okay. So it will go like this. This is my delta. This is my delta T. If they're close to 1, they're very almost overlapping with each other. And if it's the other way, it's like this. So it shows that for Prandtl number greater than 1, the momentum diffusivity is higher than thermal diffusivity. So therefore, you feel the effect of the shear force over a longer distance away from the plate compared to the thermal distance. Okay, so that's the way to remember. Also, keep in mind that this is representative of air, and this is representative of water. Remember, water at room temperature, Prandtl number is 7, air 0.7. Air actually is even close to 1. But yes, of course, the boundary layer will be, the velocity or momentum boundary layer will be thinner than that of the thermal boundary layer. Okay. Other thing to note, lower is delta T. We have already talked about that. Higher is H. Why? Due to higher del T del Y at Y equal to 0 plus. Okay. Some important concepts here. Okay, especially the correlations, etc. Yes, there are correlations for various flows, various geometries, etc. Those are all given. Fine. But please convince yourselves that you understand and can visualize the existence of this thermal boundary layer and how that impacts, how that is the thermal resistance, that is a resistive layer that prevents the transfer of heat from the plate to the fluid, and therefore lower that layer thickness, higher is the heat transfer rate. Okay, and the dependence of the relative thicknesses of momentum and thermal boundary layers on the Prandtl number of the fluid. Okay, these are the concepts that you should keep in mind. Okay. So now for laminar flow, if I give you a flat plate condition, isothermal boundary condition, you can use this correlation. Okay. So what we will do now is, going forward, as I was telling you yesterday, heat transfer is more about correlations. It's more of a correlation based, at least at your level. It's a correlation based theory. Of course, development of those correlations take a lot of time, take a lot of effort. But finally, it's about understanding which correlation, to have these correlations in your disposal, and to understand which correlation to use when. Okay. You probably have 100 correlations at your disposal. That's your toolbox. Now, which tool to use for the problem you're trying to solve? That's the judgment you need to develop. Okay. It's like a technician. Okay, I have a big toolbox, but if I have to use the spanner and instead I take the screwdriver, then I'm not going to get the job done. It's similar. We are equipping you. You'll be equipped with a lot of correlations, but that understanding of which correlation denotes what, when it can be used, etc., are very, very important. All right. So now moving forward, this is about theoretical derivations. After this, we will talk about primarily correlations. So let's look at these special cases. The first one, uniform heat flux. What happens if the boundary condition at the wall is not uniform temperature, but uniform heat flux? When it was uniform temperature, we saw that the heat transfer was higher at the leading edge, and then it slowly reduced as we moved. So heat transfer rate along the plate was non-uniform. But see, most of the times it's much easier practically to have a surface which is isoflux. I can just attach a heater and then it will be a unique isoflux surface. Most of the experiments we do is like that. And I can change the heat flux and therefore I can change the power to the heater and therefore change the heat flux. If I have to maintain an isothermal temperature, it's much, much difficult. I may have to use a salt and water, ice and water coexisting to maintain at 0 degrees, or some other fluid which is either melting slash solidifying or boiling slash condensing at different temperatures. So it's not easy to maintain uniform temperature. So uniform heat flux condition is a far more encountered situation in practical life. Okay, please keep that in mind. So here what happens? My Q double prime X is constant. Okay, the flow is still the same. Flow is still coming at U infinity T infinity. Okay, I will have a momentum boundary layer. I will still have a thermal boundary layer. Everything that way will happen. Okay, so here the correlation is Nusselt of X. Remember, it was 0.332. Here it is different. It is 0.453. Rest is exactly the same. Reynolds to the power half and Prandtl to the power 1/3. You agree? And this is for laminar flow, which is Reynolds X less than 3 into 10 to the power 5. Right? Reynolds. Okay. Again, you are not expected to remember all these. You will have them with you. Okay? If it is turbulent flow, if the Reynolds number is higher, then it becomes 0.0308. Reynolds to the power 0.8. Okay.
Sir, isn't Reynolds number 10 to the power 3.
No, why?
I don't know, like if I remember, we studied something like Reynolds less than 3000 was
No, you
laminar.
studied Reynolds less than 2000. So were you not there in the recap of fluid mechanics, or have you not looked into the notes? Reynolds, then why are you? Reynolds greater than 2000 or less than 2000 is for internal flow, flow through a pipe, not flow over a flat plate, not external flows.
Oh,
Okay, so this is the correlation if the flow is turbulent. Okay, I'll come to something important after this. The things to note again here. Please note that TW in this case is a function of x. Okay, Q is, just give me a minute, my battery is running low. Connect it. Okay, for isothermal, the wall temperature doesn't change, it remains invariant. But here, the TW is going to be a function of x. So, the average wall temperature can be calculated using, how will we do that? We will use the TW minus T infinity average is going to be 1 over L integral 0 to L TWX minus T infinity dx, right? And that is going to be what? Q double prime by L integral 0 to L x by K Nusselt x dx, right? So you may be asked, what is the average temperature of the plate? This is how you calculate it. You have the now the correlation for Nusselt number 0.0308 Reynolds to the power 4 fifth to the power 1/3. Okay. Move all the constants outside the integral, just put x inside and do the integral. This will be a bunch of constants outside and then x divided by x to the power 4 fifth. So actually this will be x to the power 1/5 for turbulent flow. For laminar flow, it will be x divided by x to the power half, therefore root x dx. Okay, so this is how we calculate average Nusselt number. However, as we discussed, unlike internal flow, flow through a pipe or so, where the Reynolds number is defined in terms of the diameter. So the flow is laminar or turbulent throughout, right from the beginning. In case of flow over a flat plate, the flow is typically laminar followed by turbulent. Okay. So this is important to note that unless otherwise stated, flow over a flat plate is typically laminar followed by turbulent. What do I mean by that? What happens is, I'll just draw the thermal boundary layer right now. It's going to stay laminar till the Reynolds number in terms of x exceeds the critical Reynolds number value, and after that, it is going to go to turbulent mode. So here it is laminar, and here it is turbulent. And over here, this is XC. So for such a correlation, for such a situation, the Nusselt number, the average Nusselt number L is going to be H bar L over K 0.0366 Fahrenheit to the power 1/3 times Reynolds L to the power 0.8 or 4/5 minus C1. Okay, where C1 equals to 14,500 if Reynolds C equals to 3 into 10 to the power 5. Okay, the critical Reynolds number for transition from laminar to turbulent, if that is 3 to 10 to the power 5, then this is what it is. However, remember, we said that it is possible in natural course, this is how it is happening. It will happen. But if you look at the equations, right, turbulent flow, the Nusselt number dependency is 10 to the power is Reynolds to the power 0.8, 4/5, whereas for laminar it's half. So turbulent heat transfer coefficients are definitely higher than laminar. So sometimes we may want higher heat transfer. So what is typically done is we put some kind of a what is called a turbulator. We'll put a disturbance to disturb the boundary layer from, disturb the formation of the boundary layer. Okay. So therefore, if that is the case, if we artificially are inducing turbulence earlier, then this can be any other value and maybe even equal to 0 if the boundary layer is turbulent from leading edge itself. So again, how do we do that? This we actually routinely do, put these turbulators, vortex generators. So let us say I just put a spike over here. Then what happens as the flow comes in, the boundary layer will never be able to, it will be disturbed. Okay, there will be vortices here. Okay, so this is where use of turbulator to promote or induce turbulence. But as we discussed during fluid mechanics also, the shear stress, therefore shear force in turbulent flow is higher. So therefore, the fluid needs more energy to overcome the viscous forces. Okay, so which is manifested in terms of a higher pressure gradient, pressure drop for the same flow rate. So by going from laminar to turbulent, definitely my heat transfer gets promoted, but I do pay a penalty in terms of higher pumping power. I need to pressurize the flow higher, more, so that it can overcome the higher resistance, higher flow resistance. Okay. The last special case is called unheated flow length. It is not necessary that the plate will be heated throughout, right? Okay, this is my plate. The fluid is coming here, U infinity, T infinity. But I may decide that I am going to heat this plate. This is TW greater than T infinity. This is TW equal to T infinity. Okay. So the heated, there's an unheated portion before. And I'm going to denote it as zeta. So the momentum boundary layer is going to develop right from the beginning. But the thermal boundary layer will start developing only over the heated length, right? So see the way I have drawn here, I've drawn it for a fluid whose Prandtl number is less than 1. So under normal circumstances, the momentum boundary layer should have been thinner than the thermal boundary layer. The thermal boundary layer would have been thicker. But because the thermal boundary layer started developing later compared to the momentum boundary layer, it is thinner, at least the way I have drawn. Maybe beyond a certain length, it will go past the momentum boundary layer. Okay. So keep this in mind. These are all different configurations. And you have correlations for all of them. So for unheated length, Nusselt X. So what people do is you use Nusselt X, assuming that zeta equal to 0. And then divide it by 1 minus zeta by x to the power 3/4 and the whole thing to the power 1/3. This is for laminar. And for turbulent, it will again be same thing, same form, that is, assuming zeta equal to 0, for which we have the correlations already. And then you divide it by 1 minus zeta by x to the power 9 by 10 or 0.9, and this whole thing to the power 1 by 9. Okay, this is for, as I said, turbulent flow. So friends, steps, very important. Very important to know the steps. First thing, when you get a problem, you understand what is the geometry. Okay, is it flat plate? And later on we will see, is it flow over a sphere, cylinder, bank of tubes, blah blah blah, whatever it is. Okay. Second, find out whether you have a correlation for the geometry. If it's flat plate, you have a bunch of correlations, as we have seen. Then you look at the boundary condition. Okay, the next is you calculate whether the flow is laminar or turbulent. To calculate Reynolds number, find it. Third thing, what is the boundary condition? Isothermal, isoflux, unheated flow length. Okay, so all these things you have to check before choosing the appropriate correlation. Clear? So let's do a quick problem. I have a problem done here. That's a square plate of 0.5 meters by 0.5 meters is exposed to air both on upper and lower surfaces. Okay. U infinity is equal to 15 meters per second and T infinity equals to 30 degrees C. Okay. The wall is maintained at 50 degrees C. I'm asking you to calculate what is the drag force Fd and Q. How will we solve this? Okay. So what is this? Let us identify all the things. Okay. Solution. First, flow over isothermal flat plate. Okay. L 0.5 meters. So the first thing you check is what is Reynolds L? U infinity L over nu. Okay. Okay. So if you do all this, okay, I'll give you the properties here as well. Air properties at 40 degrees C is rho 1.128 kg per meter cubed, nu 1.7 into the power minus 5 meter squared per second, kf 0.03 watts per meter Kelvin, Prandtl 0.7. Okay, if you do these calculations, the Reynolds number comes out to be U infinity L by K is equal to 4.42 10 to the power 5. So this is greater than 3 into 10 to the power 5. So which means flow is laminar followed by turbulent. Okay, I have not said that it is there is any turbulent or anything. So it is laminar followed by turbulent. Okay. So the boundary layer will be laminar followed by the turbulent. So the next thing is you find out Cf from your fluid mechanics. And what is that? 0.074 Reynolds L to the power minus 0.2 minus 1050 Reynolds L. That's the correlation you have. Turns out to be 3.122 10 to the power minus 3. In friction coefficient. So the drag force, keep this in mind. What is it? Half rho U infinity squared Cf times area of the plate. Okay. I'm multiplying by 2 because remember the flow is happening on both sides of the plate. Two sides. And this turns out to be 0.198. Okay. Similarly, you find out, and this I will not do for you. Please use it. You do it yourself. Similarly, find Nusselt number L, and from there you find out what is H bar, and again Q would be 2 times area of the plate times H bar times TW minus T. this you should get 329 watts, maybe plus minus here and there a little bit. Okay, please complete this. And let me give you another exercise, part B. If the leading edge is rough, calculate these values. Okay, and you will see that if the leading edge is rough, it means that it's turbulent right from the beginning. Therefore, what you should see is your drag force will be higher and your heat transfer will also be higher. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And when we come back next on Monday, we are going to finish it off. Okay. Achha, one last thing. Let me stop sharing now. We needed to discuss. So next week, can we schedule the exam on one of the evenings? Let us say Thursday evening. Is that okay? So next Thursday evening at 8:30 p.m. Sorry, at 7:30 p.m. 7:30 to 8:30 will be your second test. So that is 27. No, that's Thursday, 28. Okay. So 7:30 to 8:30 on 28th of October will be your second class test. The syllabus is radiation and heat exchanger. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Actually, sir, from 26 to 29, various students are going to college. So
29th you are coming to college. So let's do it.
29th.
Okay. So let's do it on 27th then. Okay.
Sir, actually, it's a 27 to 29 window. So on all 3 days, we are coming back to campus.
Yes.
Okay. So when do you want to do that? You want to do it earlier than Monday, Tuesday?
So can you please shift it to next month?
No.
First
Then
week of
no. Then we have to do one more.
So can
We
it
have
be
to
the
do one
weekend?
more final test.
Can it be the weekend?
Which weekend? This weekend? Day
No,
after tomorrow?
29th is the
No,
night.
no. I don't want to do that because you guys will be in quarantine. You will not have probably internet access, etc. I don't want to do that.
Sir, I think we will because we'll be in KGP rooms only.
No, you won't be in your KGP rooms. I know because I have had students who have come back. I still have one student who have come back after Durga Puja. He's having issues. I don't want to take that risk. Okay. So then let's please do that 27th. So let's do it on Tuesday, which is 26th. What is there? There's nothing to study. You have all the notes in front of you. Why are you?
Actually, the problem is that since I have the date of 27th, so I will be traveling all Tuesday because it's a 24-hour train.
You give me a solution, please. You cannot just pose problems.
24th Sunday.
24th Sunday. Okay, I am fine. 24th Sunday when evening?
Morning 11 to 12 or like something.
So 24th Sunday is the proposition from the class, and I am fine with that.
Sir, 24th would be too early, sir. Can we get some time? Like we have already a test on 22nd tomorrow, sir. So we have to.
I'm asking you for a solution. You
Sir,
cannot just pose problems.
can it be
Sir, on 26th also we have a test, sir. So
How can
Sir,
you have
30th?
26th a test? Because 26th you were 26th when I proposed, you said we are traveling. I just said 26th, you said
Yes, sir.
people are coming back on 27th. So how could you agree to that test then on 26th?
So because 26th morning we have a test and it was announced long before, so I scheduled a train.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you take on 30?
to 30th.
Okay, I will take on 30, but I am not going to then I'm not going to entertain any excuses about I don't have good network in my room, I'm in a quarantine situation, etc. I gave you a choice. It's on 30th. Okay, it's on 30th. Fine. But I am not going to take any responsibility if your internet doesn't work. You will be marked absent. Okay. Problem is, looks like being flexible, I am being penalized for this. Sorry, I'm giving too many choices to you guys. And that flexibility is taken advantage of. I'm very sorry to say this. Okay. Thank you. See you guys on Monday.